I know what you're thinking. Wrong Turn's really going to be the fourth franchise he does this with? Yes, it is. And that will make sense after I get into the first few of these when I talk about my relationship with the franchise as a whole beyond just the watching the movies experience. So, unlike with the Freddy and Jason movies video and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre video, I wasn't way too young when I watched Wrong Turn. Arguably. I mean, I was 3 or 4 when I watched 5 movies out of those 3 major franchises. By the time I watched Wrong Turn, this was 2010. I borrowed a 3 pack from my neighbor off a whim. Obviously, Wrong Turn 1 is on that list, which, just because I'm starting with the original doesn't mean that this is not a whack order to watch these movies. You'll see what I mean. But, yeah, with the original, it came with Joyride and Turistas, which obviously is not the most impactful movie. But yeah, it wasn't terrible either. But with the other two are so much better. Joyride is a classic. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. But the one that kept with me the most was the original Wrong Turn. That movie was a masterpiece. Like, it was a love note to a whole like era of just splatter films. But you can tell that there's a love of the genre in these movies, and that is always great to have. I think Wrong Turn 1 works so fucking well. I think it's underrated. To create 3 horror icons in a movie. Obviously, Three Finger is the horror icon. He's the character I want to see go up against Victor Crowley in a crossover. And if they do that, I would love to be in it. That would be fucking great. Oh, God. Let me try out at least. But back to Wrong Turn. Like, yeah, Three Finger is fantastic. Julian Richens, dude from Supernatural, plays Death. This, I like this role more. Like, Three Finger is just so good, so iconic. That laugh immediately just became iconic, and it was just always in my back pocket of just an impersonation to do. And then, yeah, God, I don't know. I just love this movie. Like, I love the characters too. Like, obviously, some of them are douchey, but they die quick. And I love the whole, like, the feeling of the Wrong Turn movie elicits more of, like, that feeling that you're supposed to get where you're on the edge of death and you really feel the adrenaline of trying to stay alive, and, like, the threat is level is high. And you really get into that level of, like, it's more of a primitive type of war where it's like a group of people versus another group of people, and it's just they're getting decimated because they're so outmanned. And, well, not like with numbers, but like, as far as just like these mutants are just hardcore. And Sawtooth and One Eye, oh my god, Sawtooth is great. He's a fucking, like, they have like 3 completely different types of insane inbred crazy mutant people, completely different. Like, Three Fingers, everyone knows, but like, he's the hyper crazy one. And Sawtooth's the lumbering one that's like slow, but like he's a fucking great at aiming. And then One Eye, of course, he's mentally deficient, and he's like a child, and he's just like loving everything that's happening. He doesn't even score a kill, I don't think, but no, he doesn't score a kill in this movie. But it's fun that he's there, and he's really threatening with Jesse right before he gets ran over. Obviously, this is going to spoil all the movies, but you should have known that when you clicked on this. And God, like, the deaths were gnarly. The fucking, they start you out slow with the, like, Richie getting killed off screen and falling off the cliff, and then that barbed wire drag off screen, which is pretty cool for off screen kill. It's like, gets you in the mood, right? And then, of course, the barbed wire right in the mouth, like, that is a slasher movie. That is a splatter movie. That is what this is. And God, I just love the whole, like, it's just a love note to movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like The Hills Have Eyes, but it was our version of it because I was 3 when it came out, and I saw it when I was 10. And I'm amazed I didn't see it when I was 3 because of like I saw so many horror movies that came out that year then. But I'm fine with seeing it at 10 because it it's remember the first time you saw it. It's really good. And then of course after I saw Wrong Turn, the original, I don't know exactly between that point and when I saw the next movie on this list it happened, but I'll go into it now. I was a major Wrong Turn fan, and so were my friends, Brock, Trenton, and Camden. And us and a few other neighborhood kids were playing a game where at first it was like a few of us were mutants and a few of us weren't, and like basically if you died, you died. And then at some point, it got around to like if you got killed, you became one of the mutants. And the only part that I remember for sure that I came up with was that start like have the last person alive be the first mutant in the next round, and start with one mutant in each round. But yeah, we were chasing each other around with foam weapons and shit, and I was doing the cackle whenever I was the mutant. And yeah, so needless to say, the reason this franchise is the next one I'm doing besides like the top three, to me at least, is because it is such a giant staple of my childhood. Because like for years, like my home life wasn't great, so when I got to go out and hang out with those three dudes, that was the shit. But yeah, and like the rest of the kills are also great. Like obviously Evan also dies off screen, but that's fine. Like his lifeless flop out of the van or the truck where they see him and for the first time dead. That is a powerful enough moment to make up for his off-screen kill in my opinion. And also we saw his ear earlier, which is just creepy. Like the less you see, the more your imagination fucks with it. But they also have great other kills. And Scott's kill is great because he was like I think the most charismatic character that we had apart from like the killers, which I wouldn't say charismatic is the right term there. I just enjoy them as slasher villains. But so like him getting shot arrow by arrow as he's going like full on Boromir, but from the other side, and he dies protecting everyone. At that point, it's like whoa. And then Carly's a mess for the rest of her life. I love the genius that they burnt the watchtower while they're up there. Like it shows that Sawtooth and Three Finger, they're not mentally deficient. At least not entirely. These guys are great hunters. And I love that like they're always one step ahead, but our survivors are always inching away by the skin of their teeth, as you say, and it back is pretty believable. And Carly, her death is probably the most iconic. I like Scott's more just for like the emotional reasons of the movie, but like I gotta admit, like as far as like just pure gore, like getting her head cut in half and then seeing her like eye just die and then her body falls and then the head too, like ah god. People think this movie's just good and just fine. Ah, I disagree. I think it's better than that. Which brings me to the second movie that I saw. Also in 2010, I believe. And I think that I saw the trailer for the fourth movie, and I was like, there's sequels? And Brock was like, yeah, dude, I have all three. And I'm like, what? And I'm pretty sure that he had, or Trenton had, one of them had an extra copy of Wrong Turn 3. I'm pretty sure it was Brock. Because he had the 3-pack and the original case, I think. So I think he gave me the disc from the 3-pack. And then I saw Wrong Turn 3. And if you've seen all the Wrong Turn movies, you know that this is the Jump the Shark movie. And as far as the idea of it, I love the idea of the mutants versus a bunch of criminals. Because yes, and the characters being hateable kind of goes hand in hand with that, but that's also kind of a nitpick complaint. And it would be a bigger complaint if criminals The idea of it is if it fun makes sense, it's something new, and that's one thing I love about these movies is that there's always doing something new. Like in each sequel, there's something about it that just makes it completely different from every other movie in it. You watched the thing about the video where I do the whack order of the Freddy and Jason's and the Texas movies. You'll know that that's a sentiment I have about the Freddy and Texas movies as well. And like I used to like 3, but like God, that was just because the kills. Like even then I was like these characters all kind of suck. Why is Chavez keeping Nate alive so fucking many times when he's clearly not being useful? He's walking you around in circles. I mean, come the fuck on. You don't really need him. You just need to get the fuck out of the woods. You were already on the road. You could have just taken the fucking road. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, he obviously Three Finger would have gotten him on the road too easier, but like, I'm just thinking like, you you could have just gone the direction the road was going in the woods and gone that way instead of fucking around going in circles following this asshole around. I will say I love I love the conceptions of these kills, like the idea to introduce, well, they don't really introduce traps here, but they have people dying from traps here. Like in the first movie, which again, a thing that I fucking love, and if they ever do Three Finger versus Hatchet, or even just another Wrong Turn movie with Three Finger, to have that bear trap that's also a rope trap that goes up like this. I need to see that fucking work. But anyway, they expand on that and they bring in traps that just split you in three, and then they fucking like the scythe trap cutting his face off and then it's sliding down. Like that was awesome. Like, and the barbed wire trap. Like these are good kills like in thought, and the CGI lessens it a bit. But I got to admit, I still enjoy it. These movies, like I've had nostalgia for damn near every movie in this list for years. So the whole idea that like I'm thinking of this now as like, okay, yeah, this is a bad movie is because I watched all of these in preparation for the new one. And when I was doing that, I was like preparing to like rank these, not even for like a video or anything, just to rank them and so I know, which I might rank these movies at the end here, but no, I'll rank these at the end because it's I'm already talking about each movie in this video. But yeah, like just the care. Oh, and the fucking girl, dude, she's so annoying. The acting is just bad. Like when I'm more annoyed at her than the characters that are like every single other character is worse than her objectively, like as far as like personality and just morality. But the acting is so fucking annoying, and she's the only character in the whole fucking movie that lives. God, what the fuck? Okay. Had to get that out there. Oh, I love the beginning with the boobs and the fucking the arrow going through his hand while he's holding the boobs, and then the eyeball and he eats it. Like, yeah, I can shit on these movies, but like with probably all of them, I can be like, oh, there's this really cool part though. Do gotta admit though, this movie made me think, fuck, this franchise goes off the rails. And yeah, I was still like intent on like, all right, I'm gonna watch all of these, but like I hadn't fully like at that point I was like, all right, well this is gonna be one of those cases where the original is the only great one, and at that point I don't think I had experienced that really, because I always liked at least half of the sequels and the franchises I saw. Like Nightmare on Elm Street, I love every movie except the remake, which I there's parts of it that I just take me out of it, and I'm like, oh god, I hate this. But then there's parts where I'm like, cool. But this isn't about that movie. This is about another movie that I saw around that time that is arguably worse. But yeah, Wrong Turn 3. This was right like in the whole like either coming up on when I started playing this game with my friends about Wrong Turn, and like or like right after or right before or like in the middle of it. I have no idea, but like it was around that time. And I just know that like there is a special place in my heart for this movie, even though I know that most people hate it because it's just so low budget and the acting is hit and miss and the CGI and just the annoyingness, and I understand the gripes with the movie. Well, like it was my least favorite for a long time, but then it wasn't, and then it was, and then it wasn't. So you'll see at the end of this video when I rank them. But yeah, I'm gonna move on to a movie that I have way more fun and way more good things to say about. Wrong Turn 4 Bloody Beginnings. Now, the title of this list is the whack order I watch these in, so don't be commenting, what the fuck, why'd you do this? Yes, I do believe that I had the option of watching two, but for some reason I didn't, and I don't remember why. I guess I just didn't feel like asking to borrow it. I was too busy watching the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre 5,000 times because I just had that for the first time and all that shit, you know? So, but 4 was the new one, and I had just gotten it for a birthday or Christmas or some shit. I think it was Christmas. I just gotten Wrong Turn 4, and I popped that bitch in. This is 2011, right when it came out, and I think Left 4 Dead was also 2011 when I saw it, maybe. But this movie is frustrating because of how much I love it and because of how stupid it is. You know that feeling when you grow up with a movie and you're like, God, I love this movie. And then you just like you grow up and then you see these like just these stupid fucking decisions that just don't make any goddamn sense and you're like, what the fuck? Like with Wrong Turn 3, I saw the stupid decisions from the first fucking time I watched it. With Wrong Turn 4, I was like, this is the same guy. I'm like, all right. But I knew that it was in the snow, and then it had all the original brothers back, and it was a prequel, and so I was like, all right, this should be interesting. Because I had just seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning and loved the fuck out of that, so I was like, all right, this has got to be baller. And it was baller. I'll say the acting and the characters have all improved a ton. I love this three finger. Most of these three fingers only play the guy like once. And the only guy that plays him twice plays him in 3 and 5. And I think that he does a serviceable job. But like I have this distinct nostalgia for the fourth one because like I think it was the first new one I saw, but it was also just so brilliant because and you're gonna think like he just said Wrong Turn 4 was brilliant? What the fuck? Dislike. But bear with me a little bit. The idea harkening back to the first one where the whole idea is just like it's a group versus a group and it's like a war type of thing and the whole like concept of that, but now it's in a building and it's snowed in, so if you try to go for help you'll get the most hilarious death in well one of the most hilarious deaths in the movie where you're just frozen there on the side of the road. It's really like whereas in the original and even with the third at this point in the ones I've seen and some of the ones I haven't talked about, there's that fight or flight this instinct that these movies will the good ones they draw on and they play with that because that's what it's about, and it's about that like one of us is going down, but instead of it being more focused on the idea of like a final girl, everyone in the group is working together as like a force against their adversaries, even if they're not doing it well, which is another aspect of this franchise that I fucking love. It's that present in the fourth one because they make a lot of make a lot of mistakes and I would say some very very dishonorable acts, and at the same time some very stupid acts that some might say are dishonorable, but I would say is the appropriate response. But yeah, no, I don't know. Like the whole opening with the prequel part, I didn't like, and I noticed this with 3 too, where in the first movie and the second movie, he's got these fingers. And then in the third movie, and the fourth movie, and the fifth movie, and the sixth movie, he's got these fingers. And God, I don't know, that's always bugged me. But yeah, and like the whole explaining it away, like all of their deformities. I'm pretty sure the original was supposed to. They were supposed to be born that way. I mean, Saw's hand looks like these two are like merged together in the middle in the first movie. So I don't know the whole idea that he bit his fingers off. Again, though, like I'm watching these for schlock because after three, I know what I'm in for with the sequels and prequels. Of course, we cut to like basically porn, and of course, 11-year-old me was like, yes. While some of these characters will make some decisions that make me think they're really fucking awful later, as far as their group dynamic as their friends, like I buy it. I like their dynamic as a group. Even if like again, the whole idea that they're in the snow just makes this so much more brutal because like they have no choice but to fight back. And at this point, we've already established that killing these fuckers is insanely hard. The third one, they imply that Three Fingers dead, and that's why they're doing these prequels. But he's the only mutant in that fucking movie, so who the fuck killed Brandon then? And don't tell me Wrong Turn 6 explains it, because this movie came out way after the O'Brien trilogy, so they weren't even thinking about that. Like, in my mind, it was always Three Finger, because I was in denial about Three Finger being dead, but I guess it, like, in my mind, if they do whatever I want them to do, they'd have to just ignore 3 onward. It's the only way to do it. Some of the best kills in the franchise, like I said, that even if it's off screen, that kill where like it's the morning and they cut to the road and then they pan over and you see her there frozen to death and she was the one that was going to go get help. That is so fucking hilarious to me. Like, I don't know, maybe that's sick, but I think you're supposed to laugh at that, so whatever. And then of course the ending where Kenya and Sarah are just driving away on the thing, and then they drive right into a barbed wire fence that's not set up by the boys. It's just there, and they cut their fucking heads off. Like, that is the funniest fucking way to end the movie. It's so hilarious. I mean, I don't think this movie gets credit for how funny it is. That song that they make about the movie, it's in the special features. But maybe that's like my brain, like having that image and joy in my head while listening to it so many times. But I don't know. I love the ending song there. I don't listen to it that often though. I'm pretty sure that I don't listen to it hardly at all. But when I enjoy it when I watch the movie. And the fucking puns though, like they probably turned Porter into a porterhouse by now. That's so funny. And like, it's like they're eating him alive like some fucked up fondue. Just the and that kill where they're just slowly peeling him apart while he's alive, screaming because his friends are just not helping him, which is why they're like part of why, like, while I say I love their chemistry and dynamic in the first part of the movie, their decision making from here on drags them down several tiers of like just if you're gonna take a cast of a slasher as a whole, it would drag them down a lot. But there's because I like Kyle, and Jenna's decent, but everyone else just kind of annoys me. Oh, and Daniel's good, but he's dead now. But well, they're all dead now. But God, just the fucking the peeling and then the ripping his liver out, and oh, the fucking improv scene where he's choking and they hit it and it hits fucking. God, so funny. Like this is gotta be. Like this restored my faith, and I'm like, all right. Wrong Turn 3 was just a shot in the dark. This is gonna be some fun. And I still had fun with parts of 3, but nothing compared to 4, and definitely neither of them compared to 1. Obviously, I'm a diehard fan. Like I said, me and my friends, we played this game all the fucking time. Time I saw the next movie on this list. Me, Trenton, Brock, Camden, Beck, we all played this game so many fucking times that, like, I had probably played the game as many times as I've seen 3 and 4 at that point. Not 1, though. But, yeah. Cut to 2012, April 13th. 12th birthday, when I got this bitch. It's exactly what it looks like. Still have it. Missing a button. I was as tall as this when fully extended when I got it, and it came up to me here when I started making this video. So, if I still have this, you can imagine how I feel about Wrong Turn 2. They're actually completely unrelated now that I think about it. But, I guess I spoiled it here. Wrong Turn 2 is the next movie on the list that I saw. And I'm pretty sure I've already said it. It's, like, top tier horror. I mean, just to break it down, like, first of all, I am a huge fan of total drama. So when I found out that Wrong Turn 2 was about a Survivor-like game and total drama is a parody of Survivor, I was so down. And then the characters are just so much better than the characters in the other movies. Like, much better than 3 and 4's characters, and they're just better than 1's characters. They're not so much better. But, like, I love it, and fucking, God, Wrong Turn 2 is a masterpiece. I mean, you got Ken Kersinger, which obviously I saw FVJ at 3 years old, so love that. You got fucking Eric Learson, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003, love that. Saw that at 3 years old. Fucking, and of course, Henry Rollins, MVP. I love, like I was saying with the original, like the whole idea of the group versus the group, and that like grimy, like the fight or flight, like it's kind of like a war, but it's like a primitive war kind of a feel, where the characters have to like band together to like fight back. This movie does it the best. All these fucking Texas Battle, fucking FD3, and I'm sorry I don't remember your name right now, but another girl from this movie is in FD3. Loved seeing them. Like, Final Destination is tight. Like, Wrong Turn, Final Destination, Saw, that's like my generation's like horror franchises, even though like they're not my favorite because Nightmare on Elm Street and Texas Chainsaw Massacre are, but like those are the 3 that are my generation's franchises. Yeah, it was my 12th birthday, and I just gotten this, my first cell phone, which I don't have, obviously, and God, I don't even know what else I got, because those outshined everything, but I also went and spent the night at Brock's house, and I stayed up all night, because, like, I wasn't really good at, like, sleeping at other people's houses, and I watched Wrong Turn 2 for the first time, because I hadn't seen it, and I was like, well, this is a huge chunk I'm missing, and I'm pretty sure at that point I knew the 5th one was coming out, because this is 2012, and I was blown away. I was like, oh my god. So 3 is when they jumped the shark. And it was immediate. I was like, this is amazing. Between all of these characters and like the way that like they start out strangers that are in a competition with each other, but then they grow to be like a family, like a mismatched family, and like it's really great. And like the kills in this movie are fucking great. Like the first kill, like, split in half, and then, like, the split, and then, like, the gore. Oh, yeah, and then the third one, they split him in 3, so, like, they're doing it in all of them. I guess in the 4th one, they rip his arms and legs off, but that's the most loose one so far. But, yeah, it's just great. And obviously, 2 is the best of all of those examples. I just remember thinking, like, this might be my favorite slasher movie right now. And I gotta admit, sometimes I think it might be, but then I remember, no, it's Nightmare on Elm Street. Or sometimes I'll think it's Child's Play, but then I'll go back, no, it's Nightmare on Elm Street. Just will come out and I'll obsess over that franchise for a month, but whatever. God, if you're, like, the woods feel like they're like a part of it. You know what I mean? And like the just make a whole video just about the first two Wrong Turn movies, like why every scene is great, which I've thought about doing for other things, but then I think that that would just be so stupid to do because everyone would be like, Wrong Turn 2 is rated horror sequels I have ever seen, along with Dream Master, but that's a whole other sandbag to get into, and that movie's I like that movie better, but controversial. But that's not to say anything wrong about this movie because I love this fucking movie so much. Like the first two movies, I think are like gotta be in my top 20 horror movies. I do have to watch a lot of movies between the 30s and 60s because those are the ones. That's the years I'm hazy on. I actually saw a lot from the 1890s to the 20s. Really, the 40s and the 50s. I've seen like the least from those. I think I film knowledge more, but like as far as like right now, Wrong Turn 2 is definitely my top 20 horror movies. Probably higher than 20. So, like I said, Ken Kersinger, I love him just because I have like deep nostalgia for FVJ. But in this movie, I think he's like even better because like this mutant is like vicious. He's like Sawtooth, but he's like way faster and more uh of a leader. And like Ma, like she doesn't do a lot, but she's very unhinged. And Sister's the craziest one, I think. She's fucking nuts, dude. Jesus, like the viciousness of Elena's kill, like that is unbelievable. And like, God. And I love that they kill the character that you think is gonna be the final girl, like pretty quick. Like just wipe her out. Like, yeah, we don't need her. That was great. And I love the characters that survived. Like the choices to make Nina and Jake the survivors and Dale the last to go. That was perfect. Like I love Jonesy, I love Amber, and I love fucking Elena and Matt to some extent. Like the characters are all very fun and entertaining to watch. It's a very very great movie. Like I'll say I like Julian Richards more, but like this Three Fingers is really good. I'd say he's a little underutilized, but I think that like it's better to have the group versus a group. And I understand that he's from a different household as them, and so it all makes sense. And to have Dale like wipe him out, just to have him come back at the end and be like he's back, that was all genius. Oh, and the baby mutant, like holy fuck, that was insane. Like, and then of course at this point I'd seen three, so I pieced it together that like we see this creature born and die in the same trilogy. It's so gnarly. God, the whole war aspect of it too. Like, and like they have more than one character that is actually a veteran in this movie. And like Dale, he fucking kicks ass. Like, dude, talk about like top tier horror non-villain badasses. This guy's up there, top tier. I don't know if I'm ever even gonna try to do that, but half of them, he kills half of them. And of course, Jake and Nina score the other two. God, I just it's just masterful. And to make this video not too long, I will save my thoughts on anything else on this for if I ever do another video on it, because I could just sit here and gush about Wrong Turn 2 for however long left is on that fucking thing that says how long's left on this thing. But I'm not going to do that to you. Instead, I'm going to talk about worse movies. Wrong Turn 5 was the next movie I saw on this list. Basically, from here on out, it's by order of release, obviously. I mean, if you think I let fucking from 2014 all the way to 2021, and I just didn't watch 6. You're out of your mind. So yeah, 5 is up next, and I watched it. I think before everyone else did. And a friend of mine got this before, like the video more that we had. Uh, it and he got to get Wrong Turn 5, um, days. I think literally like a day or two or something like that before it was to be sold because the shipping arrived early, and we were watching it in the garage, and we got to right before the third act, or like I think I don't know if it was like it was around the explosion, but I don't know if it was before or after it, and the sun was going down, and I had a curfew, so I had to like run home, so I had to borrow it to finish it the next day. But like, I'll admit, on the first viewing, I was like, this is the best one, and now for like 5 years, it's been either the second worst or the worst in my ranking. That new movie feel went away pretty quick, and a lot of I think why I thought that was just because it was Pinhead was in it. Fucking gruesome. And I think 5 had the least amount of CG gore, but I don't remember exactly. Just a fucking hot mess. There's too much gross fucking just implied viciousness that doesn't need to be there at the end. And it's really dark, and it's all played for laughs and just like shock. God, like yeah, the fifth movie is pretty fucking brutal, but at the same time, it's just really fucking cheap. You can tell they spent all their money on Doug Bradley, which, hey, if you need to get Doug Bradley to make your movie watchable, do it. But and half and two of those aren't even fucking watchable. I'm talking about those movies, but this isn't about those movies. 5, and I'm still not on the level of fuck this movie, but I recognize that it's a pretty bad movie. You gotta remember, I have deep nostalgia for this franchise as a whole, and so I'm like a die-hard fan. So I'm gonna be till the day I die. If I marathon these movies, I'm probably gonna pop 5 into. But yeah, no, it just I love again like I like the dynamic of the characters. I wouldn't say I love it, but like I love the kills. And yeah, God, just like the whole like stabbing her and then feeding her herself. I mean, that was genius. It's like it's pretty Nightmare 5, but it's more like literal and realistic. Oh man, like just the stretching him out and breaking all of his fucking like his legs. God, like with 3 sledgehammers just going at his fucking legs, like snapping them. And of course, when they run him over, it looks really dumb because his body does not react normally at all. His head just pops off, and the rest of his body just doesn't move at all. Just rolls in one position. That's not realistic. But whatever, I get it. They had to run over a dummy, and I'm sure that they probably could only get one take, or probably like 2 or 3. I don't know. I wasn't there. Did watch special features, but that was years ago, and I don't remember them. Well, I remember them, but I don't remember. I don't remember how that dummy worked. Much more to say about the fifth one. I like that they're playing with like kind of like a Saw thing at the end, where but instead of like this gnarly thing you could live through or die, it's die painfully or die with quickly. So it's not the same thing, but it's like pretty fucking brutal. And yeah, the sheriff, she was all right. Like, I'm sure the actress is a lovely person, but the fucking the script just doesn't help anything at all. And the whole idea, like this is gonna take place as a festival, but no, the festival is just so this can take place in a fucking town, and you don't have to have Three Finger and Sawtooth and One Eye just killing everyone they fucking see. And that's one thing I didn't mention about 4 is that I love Sawtooth and One Eye in that movie. I love One Eye more than I love him in the original in that fourth one, just because in the original he doesn't kill anyone, he's just kind of there. And as far as Sawtooth, I think he stacks up with the other Sawtooth almost. The script does shift that a bit, but like as far as performance, those actors that played the mutants in 4 did a great job. The actors that played the mutants in this, Three Finger did a good job. There's a reason he was brought back again. He was serviceable as Three Finger. He did a good job. And personally, if they do the crossover, I want them to bring back Julian Richings. But if they were going to bring back a different Three Finger, I could see them bringing back the guy that did it in 3 and 5, or the guy that did it in 2. I don't know. No, they're just not. They're not good. They're just there, and they're acting like animalistic and shit and weird. But like you can tell that like their budget is so shot. Like I said, their budget's so shot on Doug Bradley. I mean, everyone else is getting paid so little. You can tell, and like the sets are just awful. Like everyone who's seen the movie that complains about anything complains about the sets. So I'm not gonna just delve into that deeply, but gotta throw that in there. And yes, this movie, but I got to admit, when I was watching it for the seventh movie, because I saw the seventh one, and I wanted to like have a full grasp of it, so I rewatched all of the first 6 and then rewatched 7 again. And that fifth one was the hardest one to get through. Spoilers for the ranking at the end, I guess, but I guess you probably would have gotten the ranking just based on how I talk about these movies, but maybe not. Maybe one or two spaces would confuse you. I don't know. Trying to think if there's anything else I want to say about Wrong Turn 5. I love Doug Bradley's performance, but I hate the script that makes it to where Three Finger and Sawtooth and One Eye are like little bitches that just allow Doug Bradley to smack him around. Like in the first movie, if that old guy goes and he hides when the truck pulls up. Now I get like the second movie is the one that says he's the family member, but like taking that and then reanalyzing that scene with that information, he barely wants to see them, let alone like yell at them. And I know he's not the same character, but like these Hilliker brothers, they're not gonna just let some guy smack them around. That's disrespectful to the characters to have them be lackeys that just it like that is a big part of why as I've grown with these movies, I've hated parts of this movie for reasons like they missed the fucking boat. They fucked up the killers. They made them inferior to this new character we've never fucking met just because he's Pinhead, but he's not in this movie, so it doesn't work. God, yeah. See the worst fifths movie, you'd have to see my ranking for the fifths in horror franchises. And you'll know, like, about how I feel about the movie, probably. Turn 5 kills another Saw ripoff thing, which is where they bury one guy up to his neck, and they have Julian, his friend, is chained, and Billy, he's screaming, like, for help, and Three Fingers just, like, drives this fucking thing, runs over his fucking head, and then runs over Julian, and, like, that was gnarly, like, because I really like those two characters, despite all the flaws of the movie outside of them. I thought the girl that ate her guts was all right. The girl that gets her eyes stabbed out at the end, I thought she was not great at acting, or at least the script sheriff. But yeah, Billy and Julian were the characters that I liked the most. So when they died, I kind of lost interest a little bit. But it was the coolest kills, I think. And I do like Mose. He was fun, but he was not part of the main group that I was trying to identify with at the time. So yeah, and the whole idea that like the police station only has like this one cop, and I love the idea of them deputizing the teens, and like again the whole idea of them like fighting this war with them, and like they're holding the fort from attack. There's aspects of these movies that I really like because each one has a, like I said, has a unique different thing about it. this movie because, like I said earlier, there's another video where I talk about it where I rank all the fifths in horror franchises, although I don't go nearly as in depth in this movie in that. There might the sixth movie I saw was the sixth movie. Between 2012, when the fifth movie came out, and 2015, when I found out that a year earlier the sixth one had come out. Yeah, to cut to the chase, I had, like, let's just say a bad rental history for a while and became an alcoholic. And then eventually that's around when I saw Wrong Turn 6. I was 15, and I know I was 15 because this is around when I was in another part of the state for a while, and I had like pictures from Facebook, and when I was looking through my other Facebook account, just looking at memories, I saw the thing that said 2015 on the picture that was around when I saw it. So I was late to the party with this one. I mean, I was late to the party with the franchise as a whole, but like porn parody, it's like Texas Chainsaw 3D, but it's Wrong Turn. It looks better than the last few movies as far as just like production value, which is insane because it's like a porn parody. And I honestly think the acting is a little bit better too, and like the characters are a little bit more fun too. Which, but I do hate the idea that the like just like in Texas Chainsaw 3D, like I said in that video where I talked about the whack order I watched those. I hate that this person comes to this place with a group of people that he's known for years just to meet this long lost family for the first time. And this long lost family is murdering everyone he's known for years. And he decides, you know what? I'm gonna join them. I hate that. It's just dishonorable, and it's just, I disrespect it. Fun with this movie, though, like, and for years it was like, oh god, this is like by far the worst one. But like I said, I'm a fucking diehard, so whenever I watched all of them in a sitting, which happened quite frequently, I had to watch 6 as well. For years, my favorite part of 6 was just going in the special features and clicking on all the kills in them hills, and it just shows you every kill from the first movie all the way to the 6th movie, and it's really fun. But, yeah. And I guess just the fact that it was so weird and, like, porny and, like, different and clearly so far derived from, like, for years my joke was Wrong Turn 6, the filmmaker's last resort, because the movie's called Last Resort. The sex shit goes like, it goes overboard in scenes. Like it's a little too much at some parts of the movie. Like I almost said porn because it is porn. It is basically porn. And as far as a porn parody, it's very great because the production value is like a movie. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm looking at this through the lens of, okay, this is a porn parody, and I think of every other porn parody I've seen, which is not that, honestly, it's not a lot. Like X and the Texas Vibrator Massacre, and if I'm comparing Wrong Turn 6 to those, it like, oh, it blows them out of the water. So it's really all about the lens you walk into the movie in. And I think that's part of this is not a great movie. It's not even a good movie. It's it's for the diehard fans and a specific subsection of weirdos. And that's fine. You know? I do love the kill where he steps in a bear trap and then he's dragged down the hallway and then he gets a machete in his head. Like, that was nice. And of course, I have to talk about the fucking fire hose kill. Fucking Charlie gets a hose up his ass and then his stomach expands and then pop! Like, when I first saw this movie, I think I had to pause it and laugh for like 15 minutes, and I told like 3 people, I was like, guess what just happened in Wrong Turn 6? Yeah, that was something. And then, because it said Last Resort, and like I said, I was like, this is the writer's last resort. But I just, part of me still was like, all right, they're gonna keep doing these, and that fucking that fire hose kill is gonna be one of the iconic ones of like, as far as like the underground group of people that love these movies. That's gonna be an outstanding one, even if they hate this movie. They're like, well, that kill was funny. Turn 6. We're gonna move on. Actually, I know someone who watched that one first. It's the last movie that just came out, the remake, the reboot, whatever you want to call it. It was fantastic. It was fantastic. I like it cuts down to that root core of that feeling of those first two movies where it's like the group versus the group. It's like a war, but like in this one it's more heady. It's like the politics of it. Extent maybe. Well, to a further extent than the first one for sure. They're like really diving into like the human emotions of like how you would react to these situations and like the fight or flight mode and how it would affect you and just like a whole bunch of other shit like her having to like shield her way into the group through like being basically a sex slave and like him and another thing like fucking trading out on everyone like that was just fucking much like with the sixth movie only he's not related to these people so it's even worse. It's God. But I understand it to a point where it's like, okay, he's finally met people that live the way he's wanted to live for years for the first time. But on a fundamental ground of just digging into like what's the most important thing. These people murdered your friends. That trumps you enjoying their weird fucking place where they blind people and put them in dungeons and fucking rape them and fucking fuck you, dude. Fuck you. God. And yeah, the Adam character. Let's get into it. I didn't think he was that bad until he put a knife to the little girl's throat, and at that point I was like, all right, kill him. But everything before that was justified, and I've heard people say that they hated him the whole way through, and I'm like, yeah, he was an asshole for a little bit, but he was also the best at supporting Luis, the best at supporting Luis when his boyfriend died. He was, God, I don't know, he's just the most entertaining of the characters because everyone else doesn't get that much screen time or does something that annoys the fuck out of me. And him putting that knife to that girl's throat, like I said, at that point, I'm like, all right, kill him. I'm just saying, I don't care if you hate the character. I'm just saying, like, it's to me. You know what I mean? Like, I understand that, like, they were just trying to help him, but in my mind, I would have the same reaction if I woke up in that situation, just fucking bash their fucking brains in. Maybe that's just because I'm fucked up, but, like, or maybe it's just because I've seen a lot of wrong turn movies. Really good job of, like, the realism, and like, they're making this the best since two. It's the best since two. And it doesn't even have three finger, which is like, come on now, that's the reason I come. But like, well, it's not the main reason, but this Wrong Turn movie has everything that I would love about a Wrong Turn movie. Other than that, they even have some cannibalism there at the end. There, it's a little sprinkle of cannibalism, contrived. The storyline of the final girl, like, where at the beginning she's like, you just killed someone, and at the end she's like fucking murdering people. That that is what we need. Like, whole idea of how death affects you, how group death and group fighting in war, the psychology of digs deep into like your mind and makes you crack and do things you didn't think you would do, and how you either harden or you die. I love that aspect of horror movies in general, but also the Wrong Turn movies that I like specifically. And I think they capture that beautiful essence of like that feeling that is ultimately should be the goal of like any group, at least group slasher movies where like the killers there's more than one killer. as opposed, but not like Scream because that's a whole different feeling and vibe they're trying to evoke. But yeah, like the fears about who did it, not really about the fact that there's more than one killer being the main fear factor. Even like a murder per se. I mean, I think that I am under the assumption that it was a trap they set up, so you could say it is at least manslaughter. But the whole like, just like to harken back to the Texas remake, which I love, and this is being a remake of a movie that's just like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies that came out the year that remake came out. Whoa! But the whole idea, like the first death being something that's not like showing us what the main threat would do, genius, and like the log rolling, it's just terrifying. It's kind of like Wrong Turn 2, but not nearly. It's just Gary, and he's just fucked, and you're like, oh. And I don't like that they kill, like one of the gay guys gets killed first, and the other one gets the worst fate. I mean, like, well, that's kind of fucked up, but that's not the point of this video. Fuck, they fucking blinded him. Like, God, you couldn't have thought like a minute faster about like, oh, trying to save all three of you instead of just you and your boyfriend, you bitch. God, at least you put him out of his misery. What the fuck? And again, like my first thought was grab him, try and help lead him out of there and take him with him. He can't have his eyes, but he can live. But no, she just shoots him. And then at that point, I'm still like, well, at least you did that. Fuck. But I love that part because it shows how far she's gone, and also because you can kind of hear him gurgling a little bit, so it wasn't an instant kill, and she doesn't double tap him. It's fucked up. The on the spot ranking, and I'll go from worst to best. I think my least favorite was obviously Wrong Turn 5, Bloodlines. And it's sad because it's got Doug Bradley in it, and all the other ones don't. But, yeah, everything else, not great. And then next up, let's see. My next least favorite is actually Wrong Turn 3. And, yeah, like, the characters they make, there's some of them are really annoying. Most of them are written to be hateable, even if I find enjoyment in them despite that. And a lot of them are making some really fucking stupid decisions. I do enjoy that they bring back the burnt down fire tower. I don't know why I called it a fire tower. That's not the point of the tower, but it was on fire. Um, yeah. And the next would obviously be Wrong Turn 6. It's not getting any higher than that, but it's a fun movie. I mean, parts of it are like, okay, come on now. But, you know, you just fast forward through the porn. And then, of course, next would be Wrong Turn 4, Bloody Beginnings. And, I mean, obviously, of all the bad ones I went through, that one was the one I had the most fun talking about, clearly, so that's not really a shocker, right? And, then we're in the top three, and this is where it gets difficult. I'm gonna go with the newest movie, the remake or reboot or whatever you want to call it. It was fantastic, like one of my favorite horror movies, especially since it's one of my favorite horror movies post Cabin in the Woods, which is a fucking classic movie. But yeah, and then I'm gonna go with the original, which like I said, fantastic movie, classic, gold. And then, of course, next would be Wrong Turn 2, which I'm pretty sure when I started ranking these, you knew 5 and 2 would be where they were. But yeah, love Wrong Turn 2. It's just one of my favorite movies, especially in the horror genre. God, underrated. It's a shame that we didn't get Joe back for more of those. And like I said, please, 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 please just make the Wrong Turn Hatchet crossover. That's all of that video. Like, subscribe, all that bullshit.